Hey everyone, so as the title says, I figured I would cover some very basic gun safety stuff because I am, a gun guy. So first off, skipping all of the preamble here, I've got my trusty 1911 for the sake of demonstration. It's completely unloaded at the moment. Not sure if you can see into the chamber there, but no magazine. And on the topic of magazines, I've got one that's got snap caps in it. These are inert training rounds. They don't do anything, period. They're just bits of aluminum, I think, with like a little rubber pad where the primer would be. So, uh, just to satisfy the people who are sticklers for safety, so am I. So I came prepared. So, completely unloaded, and we're going to take these snap caps and put them in here. Um, for the sake of demonstration, again, safety on. So, some basic rules. People usually give you four. I'm going to give you more than that. Um, First one to start off with is never point a gun at something you don't want to shoot. Um, so if you're at a range with friends, family, strangers, um, your friends, family, and strangers are the center of this rule. Do not point any guns at any of them, any part of their body, or your own. I've seen multiple videos, and again, I've got the snap caps in here and the safety on. I've seen multiple videos of people shooting themselves because they put their hand in front of the barrel like this and pulled the trigger. Um, do not do what I just did, because then you would be breaking this first rule, and it's the most important rule, in my opinion, out of some very important rules. All of them are very important, but this one especially is just so crucial. And if you follow this one religiously, then you could technically afford to break some of the other ones, and you still might not have a deadly or seriously injuring incident as long as you're totally serious about this one. Now that said, don't break any of the other rules either, but especially not this one. Not ever. Please. I fucking beg you. So, this will take me into the second rule, which is to treat every gun as though it's always loaded. So, this one, I won't be pointing at myself again, even though I know, and you just saw that I put snap caps in here and the safety is on. We know this, but I'm still not going to be pointing it at myself for the rest of the video. Just because. Your memory is not infallible. Have you ever had a moment where you're holding your phone in your hand and you're like, damn, where the fuck did I put my phone? Exactly. You may think you're 100%, 200% sure that there is no live ammunition in the gun. It doesn't matter what you think. For all you know, you could have put some fucking live ammo in the gun and you just don't remember. It happens. It seriously happens, especially to really experienced people because we get complacent. We think, oh, I've owned guns for, a decade plus. I've never had an incident, etc., etc. And so you start to get more lax, you take more risks, you aren't as careful, and that's a recipe for disaster. Um, so even if you are pretty damn sure that there's nothing in it, don't break the first rule. Regardless, do not break the first rule. Um, Next rule, people generally word it as be sure of your target and what is beyond it. What this means is if you're shooting paper targets, for example, a bullet's going to go right through that, obviously. You know that, but for a lot of people, it doesn't necessarily occur to them when they're actually at the range. Um, Especially if you've never been to a gun range before, if somebody's going what we call downrange, which means they're passing the firing line in the direction in which people are shooting. Um, Say they're setting up a target, they're retrieving a target that had already been out there, whatever the case may be. As soon as somebody starts to pass the firing line, they first, before they even do that, they need to call a ceasefire to everybody, which you need to honor. Don't keep shooting, and then they will go out. And as they're going down range, nobody should be even aiming a gun, let alone shooting. The gun should be on the table, preferably unloaded or safety on, whatever. Nobody touching them while there are people downrange. And if you're at, like a friend's house, some private property situation, a public range that's not very well monitored or whatever, you need to be especially careful of how the range is constructed. Because if you're shooting on somebody's own land or something, I kind of doubt that they're going to have like a big dirt berm behind where the targets are, which they should. Ideally, you should have some kind of a mound or a hill behind your targets so that as you're shooting, whenever your bullets pass through or you miss, they're just going to be hitting dirt and, not traveling across the fucking county. um, you really don't want that. That's not good for you legally, morally, not good for your fun times. Uh, so definitely don't be shooting in the direction of, say, people's houses or something when there's no solid barrier between the back of your targets and where there might be people. And if there are people downrange, don't keep shooting. Don't even aim the gun. Just put it down. Wait. They'll be done. You can wait a minute or two. Um, let's see. Other rules. There are more than I'm missing. I know that much. A big one, we call it trigger discipline for short. But basically, if you're not actively shooting, keep your finger away from the trigger. So you can see when I'm holding this gun, I have my finger up here. It doesn't necessarily matter if it's here or whatever. You don't want it here. So there's that. If you have a manual safety, which this gun does, it's right here. This is the off position. Keep it in the up position, or the on position, if you're not actively shooting. Again, it doesn't matter if the gun's loaded or not. Just it's a safety. It's literally called a safety. Turn it on for more safety. So those are the biggest ones. Another one that I would advocate for personally is to have a first aid kit and some training to use it. And when I say a first aid kit, I don't just mean some fucking band-aids. We're talking sterile rolled gauze, even better hemostatic gauze like QuikClot or Chitosan or whatever. Tourniquets, chest seals, vented chest seals, you name it. Know how to use that stuff, which you can get training for free or very cheap. There's a Stop the Bleed program in the US. I've been to those classes before. They're great. Take one of those. Take your basic first aid and CPR. They'll teach you how to use that stuff and then get some of that stuff. Don't buy counterfeit gear. Buy an actual cat tourniquet or what is it, a soft T wide, something like that. There's one of those junctional things or no. I'm thinking of the SAM tourniquet. I think those are approved as well. Those are a good option. Something like that. And like I said, buy legit. Don't buy a counterfeit. Um, you might save yourself $5 or $10 or whatever. But consider that you're essentially determining how much is your life worth. How much is your leg worth to you? Is it worth 25, 30, $35? In my opinion, yes. I do value my life that much. So I have actual cat tourniquets from North American Rescue. So there's that. Know how to use that stuff. Keep it on you. You probably have a range bag already. How are you transporting your gun and your ammo, right? Keep that shit nearby. Know how to use it. One last thing, and we're gonna have to cut the footage real quick. All right, so there is one more thing that I want you to know, and that is unloading the gun properly, because this is also something where I have unfortunately seen some accidents happen. There was even a personal case that I didn't see, thank God, but it did happen in my family, where somebody did not know how to properly unload a firearm, and they broke a couple of the other safety rules, and they are no longer on this earth as a result. So this is something I personally really want people to know. It's very important. Please, please take my personal loss seriously, and spare your family that. So, once again, we're here with the snap caps, but for the purposes of this demonstration, pretend this is a loaded gun, loaded with real ammo, not snap caps. But anyways, I have a magazine in the weapon, and there is a snap cap in the chamber. You should probably be able to see it. It's kind of dark in here, but to unload the gun, you have some ways you can do this, but there's really only one correct answer. If you're shooting, you can just shoot until it's empty. Fair enough. If you're not at a range or something like that, then you need to unload it manually. And the way you do that is you remove the magazine first. This is step one. Remove the magazine first. You set that aside, and then you pull the slide back, and you just heard, you didn't see, the snap cap drop out of the chamber onto the floor. So now, if I lock the slide back, it's like it was in the beginning. No magazine, no rounds in the chamber. It's completely empty now. See, the thing is, some people don't know that if you have the magazine in the gun, I'm doing this backwards because I'm right-handed. If you have the magazine in the gun, and there is a round in the chamber, so we're back to that condition. If you try to unload this without taking the magazine out, you will eject that round, sure. But when the slide goes forward again, look what happened. There's another one in there because you still had the magazine in the weapon. All you did was cycled it so that one round came out and the next one went in. So if you really want to actually clear the weapon, take the magazine out first, because otherwise you're just going to be running through the magazine until it runs out. That's how it happened, is a family friend ran the slide like that but didn't take the magazine out, and they put it to themselves and pulled the trigger, and that round that went into the chamber from the magazine after they ejected the one that had been in the chamber took their life. So I've seen a video of a police officer, who didn't know this either, tried to unload a weapon that still had the magazine in it. And, thank fuck that cop wasn't pointing that gun at anybody, especially not themselves, and that they didn't pull the trigger. The other rules kept them safe. But the fact that they didn't know that put them in a position where things could have been really bad if they had broken any of those other rules. So, they say these rules are written in blood. A lot of people's blood went into figuring out how to do this properly, how to work with these things safely. So, please don't add your name to that list. So, this has been a really quick PSA. I hope you learned something. Please be safe out there. Take it seriously.